Madam President, 6 o'clock.
Need a pokey
Jim,
stick.
can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Let's call the meeting of the City and Town of Monte Council to order. Can you please call the roll?
Newman,
Here.
Cameron,
Here.
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Milo,
Here.
Cook.
Here. All right, a couple things before we go through the agenda. There was a resolution that I had pulled from tonight's agenda, and it was relative to the salaries for elected officials. Basically the bottom line was, says we have to set the salaries by May 1st. We did not do that. And speaking with the city attorney, it was just best to pull the resolution. Salaries for the elected officials.
Surgeries are being suspended, but again, those are just inpatient surgery.
The mayor's salary is set at $42,500. That was consistent with the previous term, and the council is set at $8,500, and that's consistent with the previous term. Going through the agenda, we do have our friends from Nathan and Wendell here to talk about our Elgin Streetlight project. We have Dave Morano, our city assessor, here that we'll meet with. And then we're also going to meet with Chief Stewart. Okay. So let's go through the agenda. On the minutes,
I'll take them, Madam President.
Mr. Milo.
I'm coming.
On the bills, we have questions on the bills?
I believe my questions were all answered, Madam President.
Okay. Would like it.
I'll take them.
Mr. Newman? Resolution 3 for the shared services agreement for our city assessor. Would you like to do counsel on that?
Sure.
Questions on that? All right. So, Mr. Clerk, resolution 1 is sponsored by Mr. Milo, resolution 2 by Mr. Newman, resolution 3 by the council.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A special events application,
I'd like to take that, Madam President.
Mr. Rounstrau.
Thank you.
Questions, comments on it? Next resolution is the Historical Society lease agreement. Would like to do counsel on that?
Sure.
It'll be a 10-year lease agreement. You up for that, Skip? Counsel on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Next resolution is the general fund operating budget amendment for the request of Andy. Any questions on that? Would like it.
I'll take it, Madam President.
Mr. Milo? I understand we have exec for personnel of particular persons. Is that correct? When you're making a motion,
I'll make a motion.
and it's for personnel of particular
Personnel,
persons.
particular persons.
We'll shine the meeting.
That's
Okay. So Mr. Newman's making a motion for an executive session for personnel of particular persons. I'll second. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
I'm sorry, do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. Okay, Newman,
aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Milo,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. Mr. Clerk, at 6:05 will be an exec. Everybody can stay seated here. We're going left.
For those in the virtual meeting, I will be pausing the recording and moving you into the waiting room until executive session is complete.
I know.
Just waiting for her to get there.
Yeah.
So next up, we have some representatives here from Wendell and Megvin. I'll allow you to introduce your team here to talk about our LED streetlight program. I just want to introduce you to our team. I'm Jenna Cook, the council president. To the left is Mayor Davis, Mr. Newman, Councilman Tom Newman, Councilwoman Dawn Camerediner, Councilman Sean Rutherford, and Councilman Dave Miles. So I just asked that when you are speaking, if you could just speak into the microphone so our residents who are joining us virtually can hear our streetlight update.
All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us here tonight. Carving some time out for us. As many of you know, for about a couple of years now, we've been developing a street lighting program to upgrade the existing lights in the city of Tonawanda to LED. As of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, construction has begun on the project, as many of you might have noticed. We even had some prototypes up in the school parking lot a year or two back, which we received very good feedback on. So Jenna asked us to come here tonight just to provide you with a brief update, and in just a second I'll pass it on to Wendell. So last year we had Dominic and Senna, who've been doing the design and construction on the project. Whenever you were.
Great. Thanks, Joe. As Joe said, I'm Zach Jacobs with Wendell. I'm the senior energy engineer on this project. Worked with you in the past on this. It's nice to be able to see you in person again. Also nice to actually see the lights get installed to get to this point. So happy to get this up there. So we left a couple agendas on the table. It's very simple, just to make sure we don't miss anything. So first off, just again, as Joe said, as a status update. So there's the asset management control system, which we use to control the lights in the city. Also allow for the outage reports and participate in that maintenance program. So update on those is there was 3 gateways were required for those to communicate. Those have been installed. They were installed early June. There's also asset management nodes that are required to be on each of the lights. And those were ordered at the end of February. Once the smart city design was completed. The original lead time for those was about 6 to 12 weeks. With that item B, the luminaire conversions, that's actually replacing existing HID lights with new LED street lights. Mobilization for the streetlight conversions was delayed a little bit due to material availability, particularly with those smart city nodes. And most of that was due to COVID-related shipping delays and manufacturing delays. But however, we were able to get a partial shipment of nodes and our subcontractor mobilized to begin conversion at the end of August. Final shipment of nodes are expected to arrive the first week of October. There's a corresponding signature we have on that. People work great. So being that we got that partial shipment, we work with the city, Jason and Chuck to identify some priority areas where we want to begin those installations and material we have on hand. Once we identify those, we begin the conversions with our subcontractor. To date, there's been 252 luminaire conversions in those areas. That represents about 19% of the project. There's 1,436 lights total in the project. And as you can see on the map that was also put behind your agenda, those are representing the lights that have been installed. So this is an export from that same kind of asset management system. The city will have access to it in the project. So these just kind of show where all the lights have already been installed in those priority areas that the city to identify. So kind of walk people out and see those when they're driving around through the city.
So, I'm sorry, this notes everything that was already put in.
Yes.
So the brighter ones, what's the difference between the
Yeah,
highlighted ones?
absolutely. So the ones that I have highlighted kind of, so one other piece with it is as these are installed, so the ones that are just a peak, kind of like a shadowy color.
Yeah.
Those are been installed, you can see them on the system, they're powered up. The next step is show the decommission to say, hey, we actually know you're at this light, good, working, communicate, and those are the ones that are available. So that's kind of an ongoing process as they're installed with the commission. And those little triangle symbols with the kind of Wi-Fi symbols on the top, those are the cellular cables that they communicate to.
Thank you.
And then so for luminary conversions at this time, we're estimating that it's sufficient completion for those lights, conversions by the end of this. So item C, just another part of that scope of work is the national grid separation scope of work. Those are subcontractors converting luminaires. They're installing a luminary level fuse disconnect. And that's a requirement by national grid. It also just allows those lights to work on safely. Talked about it in the past, one of those times, things like that. In addition to those luminaire level fuses, there's also some branch level fuses that are required at the points of demarcation. So where those are located are either underground fed sectional lights, that's 1 point power, or if it's an overhead fed, it's all fed from one series. An additional fuse is required at that point. And that's just again, it's that point of demarcation to the part of the national grid, which allows everyone to work safely, keep the city's assets separate from utilities. So to do that work, I'm currently waiting on mapping from National Grid to help with that. So once that mapping is provided, it'll help us with one of the more cost effective. Shows where those points are, where those fuses are. So us take time to search for those. That mapping will be a huge asset to sit and forward to, okay, showing where those are, showing some evidence. And again, so the requirement that's done within 24 months from closing the lights. We're estimating that the bar meet that 24 months. So D, Main Street improvements. So the other piece of the scope of work is there's some lights on Main Street, between Broad and Young Street. There's 8 poles that are going to be moved, opposed to decorative fluted aluminum poles. They can have decorative pen style teardrop lights on them. One facing the sidewalk, pedestrians, and one facing the roadway. Kind of what we have now, but a little more decorative. And the update there, we're waiting on Signify as the manufacturer to provide us with submittal and final pricing for those. Once we receive that, we can get those ordered. We're working with NIPA to expedite that process. We actually met them earlier than trying to set information later this week. We'll provide an update schedule for that scope of work once we get that. Just another piece for that is we'll also be ordering the same poles and mirrors for the Young Street projects by another subcontractor. Another contractor, I should say, to the city, just to ensure that both projects complement each other. Also have on your maintenance contract, Joe.
Yeah. This must be a brief status update on maintenance contracts. For those of you who do not know, City of Tonawanda did sign an authorization to proceed with the maintenance contract with the New York Power Authority for these street lights. This does not commit to the maintenance contract, rather than be the contract following construction. Rather, this is the authorization to proceed to create that contract once construction is completed. The reason we do this is just so that we can update the registry for the city upon completion of construction. We have a much more accurate counts. At that time, we will draft a contract following construction, which would be reviewed both by NIPA and the City of Tonawanda before being signed. There's a couple different types of maintenance that are covered under this, from routine to non-routine and emergency. Each one, we give you a full rundown of what the differences are. I won't go over right now. I do have a presentation that I have sent to Council President Cook, as well as Mayor Davis. And this pretty much holistically covers kind of what National Grid used to cover for the City of Tonawanda, in addition to a little bit more. So, routine maintenance, the light goes out. Emergency would be, pole fell down. A car ran into it and hit it. So again, right now, there's no action required on the City of Tonawanda's part. That is a question that did pop up though, so I did just want to go over it. Again, that will be taken care of following construction. During construction right now, any maintenance that is required is already covered by D&M, so that doesn't have to be brought up. Perfect. I believe.
Yeah, really all the way next is just kind of move forward. If you have any questions for us, we'll just provide that brief update, show you where we're at. Let's see this is space. Any questions?
Just a quick question. You said that it is under your contract right now. So if something that went in is defective or not working, would you guys know already because of the smart grid, or and somebody will come out there right away and fix it? And if they don't, who we notify and just bring it to the attention of City Hall and they'll reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. If there are wells under construction, we're handling.
That's actually what's occurred up to this point. Chuck and Jason had provided us a list of the outages that we provided to the general contractor to prioritize things first before they actually started on the LED upgrades.
Yeah,
Which
so
is that mentioned.
That was kind of the intention of those prior years, to make sure those existing outages, once the city took it over from National Grid, got this addressed as quickly as possible. Instead of waiting for material to come in, and that's the intent of those prior years. We've got 66% of all those existing outages are addressed.
And that was based on the highest density of outages.
Yeah, exactly. In order to do more process.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this update. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. So
Thanks, guys.
We've loved working with the city up to now. You guys are really great to work with, so it's always appreciated.
Oh, you said up until-
He said up till
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go around the room. Mr. Newman.
I have nothing, Madam President.
Cameron?
I do have one quick question. So I had a resident reach out to me. She paid her dog licensing fee. She had 2 dogs. The one dog ran away. And at that time was told to not worry about paying it because obviously the dog wasn't found. Thank God the dog was found, brought back to her. She came into City Hall to pay for the dog's licensing and had to pay a late fee on this dog license. And she's kind of upset about it because she had to pay a late fee on something that at the time wasn't considered late because she came in to pay for it. It was marked that the dog was missing. So we need to look at possibly changing that. I mean, if the dog was missing, you know, and I hate to be like this because I have dogs, and something were to happen to that dog, you probably would know. But fortunately, the dog was found, brought back to her. She came to do her due diligence to pay, get everything up to date, and then had to pay a late fee. So, you know, it wasn't a huge amount, but at the same time, she did do her due diligence of coming in to pay it originally. So we need to come up with, you know, if this is a future case, you know, how do we work around it? Do we waive it? Do we?
Madam President, also the dog was on their rabies vaccination had lapsed.
It had lapsed.
It did lapse, yes.
And did she get that taken care of?
You can't license the dog until the rabies vaccination is updated.
Okay. Which I know, I mean, because I have to do the same thing for mine, just like anybody else. But when she came in to do that, clerk, that was taken care of though, obviously.
After the dog was found, yes.
Okay. So I mean, in this case, you know, I wasn't getting all the correct information. But I mean, we need to maybe think about that in the future, if, you know, how we're gonna handle that.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, I think a late fee is a little extreme personally for a dog license.
Well, I get it if, you know, you are late, right? You come in past the actual due date, then yeah, you should pay it. I would expect to be charged that if I didn't get here on time to pay for my dog's licensing. Just, you know, something that I know that I expected. The other thing is traffic and safety is meeting on the 27th. So if you guys have any questions, concerns, let me know.
You're gonna talk about the request from the school district?
Yes, I am. I don't know how many of you guys are aware, but Mullen has taken away some spots over there for the teachers to park. Teachers are now parking in the street. There's 2-hour parking limits over there, so they're requesting that be waived. So
They're there for
traffic-
more than 12 hours.
Well, they didn't take away spots, correct? They're just more teachers there now. that,
Well, the email that I got, it's almost like they were taking spots away, is what I was understanding. And they could have gotten additional parking spots while they were doing all the construction over there. But from a cost standpoint, they opted not to do that. So now they're looking for the city to allow the teachers to park on the street more than 2 hours without getting a fine. I don't know what the traffic and safety is gonna be able to do, but we're gonna bring that up as well.
Sure.
And take it forward. I mean, if you guys have any thoughts,
Is
you
there any
know,
other
something that,
is there any other options?
get there early, get a spot on Syracuse.
That's exactly
Take a
what it is,
bus.
'cause it's a nightmare over there.
It really is.
The other side was bad last year, the other door is Mullen side. Now the Syracuse side is just as bad, now you're 4 more classes. It's just
right,
brutal.
It's 80 more kids being dropped off. It's 4 more teachers.
yeah.
It's more than that because there's more TAs and whatnot over there. Plus you have the residents parking.
Yeah, I mean, and how can you ride your bike? Become friendly. So, I mean, this is something that because it's only for this year.
And next year.
And
It is next year as well. So, I mean, for 2 years, do we lease it for the 2 years? Or do we, what are you guys' thoughts so that I can take it back to them on Monday?
I guess the point of the traffic and safety is determine if that causes a problem with something else. to Allow them to park there as a park. Keep people from being able to park for other things, so.
And
I'd love to hear their recommendations.
Yeah.
I just see the issue is if you're gonna open it up for beyond 2-hour parking, it's gonna be opened up for beyond 2-hour parking for residents and visitors as well.
Right.
So is that gonna be a hindrance?
Do we give them some sort of a sticker that they can put in their car?
Well, that would
saying,
be something that
Right,
the district could do probably, but
Well, I think it's only about a half of a block though, too. I think it's only what's directly in front of the school.
yeah, you're probably right.
And further down towards Maldener and then towards
yeah, I don't think that
Amsterdam, I
they're,
think
yeah,
is,
it's just that school section.
yeah,
The
it's
schools
not
are-
normal parking there.
I mean, does it interfere with drop off, pick off?
That's the other issue that you have, right? I mean, parents are dropping their kids off, picking them up, and they need a place to park because they can't stop in the middle of the street. Because you do the tuck and roll. But that's on the agenda for us to talk about on Monday. So any thoughts that you guys might have, let me know.
I guess just to,
Don, are you including the bike path in Cranbrook issue there too that was brought up?
I will, I'll put that on mine.
I think my only recommendation is maybe a yellow caution line approaching the intersection. It's enough signage. I just don't know what else you can do.
And it's kind of a blind spot there too,
It is.
and
Just put those like fisheye
fingers.
mirrors.
yeah. Knows people.
So
Yeah, across that
people on the,
lot.
whatever.
Well, on the bike path, they don't even stop.
Right.
I mean, even if they're walking, they don't stop.
Well,
I mean, I've just come to accustom to slow down there and State Street. When I'm going that section, I just,
It's gonna end up looking like Young Street where the bridge is, all
Yeah.
the signage.
yeah, I mean, how much
Big
more
lesson.
signage can you?
It gets hairy too, where it's at State Street, because I noticed that as I'm coming that way. A lot of people do want to stop and let you go by,
Right,
paying attention.
if I see
But it's
them
such a
walking,
short spot there, it just seems like that causes a bit of a backup in the process.
right. But I always tend to stop when I'm coming off of Young Street on State Street, because they don't stop when they're, even though there's stop signs for them to stop. They just ride their bikes and walk.
definitely dangerous.
But I will definitely bring that up as well. Nope, I'm good.
Mr. Rountree?
Just to tag on to the traffic and safety, I sent that little information, if that's something that would be under their jurisdiction in regards to that bus that stops where it stops for the pickup. Is that something they can look into? I don't know if that's something, matter of having the bus move closer so it can be seen at the intersection, or I've been in other places on my way to and from work going down Minerva. I mean, buses practically stop in the intersection as well.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're stopping anyways, but I think it is a matter of is if you actually see it from where they are, where it's set back a little bit, and how the house comes out towards the street. It's a tight corner, the stop sign's back a little bit. I've seen it myself. The car
Is
started a
that
little bit.
more of the busing company
I don't know who determines
that
that.
would?
I mean, I'd like to have it discussed by the traffic and safety, just so that they see that there's precedence, that they're aware of it. And if it's a matter of reaching out to the busing company, reaching out to the school, I don't know what the next step is from there. You know, I'd like them to recognize that there is a potential issue and they see it. Not to mention, there is an amazing MS Paint diagram of the whole thing that I think you showed with them.
It is beautiful.
It was awesome. Yes, that's all I have on that. And that actually stemmed from my next thing when I was asking the neighbors in regards to Halloween. It's been a few years now that it's been happening. I don't think that any less people are coming. I think even with the pandemic last year, and we were concerned about that, there was still a large number of people. I handed out bills. Jim handed out the resolution. I asked him to pull it from last year. I just thought we can get some support on it if we can ask, if everybody's okay with it, to put it on the agenda for Jim.
Absolutely. Okay.
If anybody has,
Everybody good with that?
Yeah,
if anybody has any objections. I think we've talked to the chief,
questions,
and usually,
I didn't hear what this.
I didn't do it. No. It was the Halloween, to close off.
Okay.
yeah, just to be able to close it off with the resolution through formally. Chief Strasburg had mentioned the fact that he's planned it with the auxiliary police. He's
No, I apologize, your voice doesn't project.
I know, I was gonna close
a
off.
microphone, I'm speaking to the people.
Me or him?
I know, I was gonna pull up my bullhorn.
Should come around to the front.
So Councilmember Ron Strauss submitted the resolution. Jimmy received it. You'll have it for the agenda for the 5th.
Yes, I will place that on the agenda.
Thank you.
Any questions on it? Any discussion? Good.
Can I donate money for candy?
Sure, I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll take it, and I'll reach out to the neighbors like we did last time.
Yeah, 'cause
A
it's
lot of
not
people
only
scooped up.
Okay.
I thought I had enough, and I was done in about an hour and a half. So on a pandemic in the rain,
Because you guys had how many?
I lost count. I think people are saying 2,000. That being said, I encourage other neighborhoods to make it more welcoming, turn the lights on, talk to the neighbors to encourage people to come out to the neighborhoods too. I think it's always great for the kids. Talk about the LED lights. I don't know if this was more, something we wanted to discuss more, but Natalie Boyer is here. She talked about, and helps I guess too. The community garden at Millstream, she's looking to move forward with it. I think.
Mr. Rue, if you just want to come forward here. Natalie's proposal is a 10-year agreement. Did everybody have a chance to look at that? Any questions about this? Sorry, Sean, I didn't.
No, that's great. I figured we were talking about it. I just want to make sure it's not out there.
Put an agreement together for 10 years. We've discussed at last meeting, nobody in the group will be using power tools, or heavy equipment. So it would be pretty straightforward, it'll be a 10-year.
And an exit clause of 60 days, or
Yeah, if we wanted to terminate it, correct.
you'll have that for 10-5
Next meeting.
Perfect. Everybody go with that?
Sure. So that's going to be, it's dependent on our approval to allow the mayor to sign the contract and
Correct.
move forward. So you need a formal resolution. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll prepare that along. with you.
Perfect.
What if they need power tools? I mean,
So these
Go
are
ahead.
all gonna be hand tools and things of that nature. I mean, there's more liability, obviously, when you start using power tools.
Define power tool.
Can you use a
How
battery
powerful?
powerful?
Chainsaws, lawnmowers.
But they
If
wanted
I'm
a
behind that
battery.
tool, it's pretty powerful.
Pardon me?
If I'm behind that tool, it's pretty powerful.
So gas operated
Swing a
tools.
meat show. Those type of gas powered equipment, that nature, we're not gonna be using that. It's mostly hand tools, shovels, rakes, things of that nature.
Cordless.
So we don't need like, we don't need them to provide liability insurance, things of that nature. If they're gonna start using heavy equipment, more power tools where someone could be injured, then it might come down to a situation where we need some sort of liability insurance. We're trying to avoid that because it's supposed to be like a community garden where people get their hands dirty, so to speak, as opposed to a professional venture.
Thank you, everyone.
Like you probably don't want to go too far up.
Okay.
Anything else? Sean?
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mr. Myler?
I have nothing, Madam President.
Thank you. Mayor?
Mr. City Attorney, Heather, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Give us an update on the Simmers Crane PSA.
The contract is nearly complete. There's been a request from Simmers Crane to remove from the contract the hold harmless agreement to the city for any potential hazardous waste. Which means that if there were hazardous waste on the property, we could be liable. So we consulted with the engineer. He was checking the documents to make sure, as far as we believe, that that property was only used as a parking lot in that area. So looks like we should be able to remove that without much liability. We'll know this week. We should be able to finish it up by the end of the week.
So I can expect our contract by Friday to be
By the
able
end of the
to,
week, yes.
okay. And an update on foreclosures.
We're still looking at the new executive order. I met with the treasurer. There's a chance we can go after some of the vacant properties. He provided me a list the other day. We're looking at that, and Brittany has also found a section for abandoned properties. Maybe able to foreclose on a couple of those. Under the new foreclosure order, we can start the foreclosure and they can still file the hardship declaration. But at least now, under the new order, we're allowed to challenge that declaration, where before we could not challenge it. If they signed that form that I gave you copies of before, we were done. And now it looks as though we'll at least be able to challenge, and they'd have to then show some sort of evidence that there was a hardship of COVID. So one of the things the treasurer asked me tonight was to get an estimate of what we're going to need for stub searches. So I'll get that information for them tomorrow. So
Can we
we're
get
going
a-
to start moving forward on at least the abandoned properties, and maybe the whole, we're going to try to file the whole list on all the foreclosures. See where we go from there.
Can council have a list on those properties?
All one foreclosures. The entire list?
The entire list of the
The vacant. Thank you.
Looking forward to that too.
Mr. Rowe, just one other question in regards, since that's changed with the hardships, what is the turnaround on that if they do it? So if they apply to it, how long do they have to show proof of that or have us challenge it? I mean, how much longer could it be held up in that case?
I don't know.
Okay.
We can start a foreclosure, they sign the application, we then have to ask the county court for a hearing on the hardship.
Okay.
So whatever the county court schedule is, wherever they put us for that hearing, it's up to them. So we have no control over it. And we have to ask for the hearing, it's not automatic.
Gotcha.
So if they sign the hardship declaration, we can end it there, or we can ask for a hearing. We ask for a hearing, we get on the county court docket whenever they have available time to hear. We do not have what's called a preference. Certain cases have preferences, like criminal cases, constitutional right to speedy trial, that's a preference. Divorces, that's a preference. This is a plain old civil action, no preference. We're in the bottom of the list.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I have nothing further.
I had a couple things. I don't know if everybody saw the notice, but the Lindsay's legacy is going to postpone until 2022. The mayor had sent us a request, from the UB as well as the VBA for a sleep study. Did everybody have a chance to review that? Questions on that? The request was for $6,000.
That money would go towards the, to pay the veterans for their time for the study.
For the study, correct.
And is it only Vietnam veterans or is it,
It's only combat, this one,
okay,
so.
Everybody in agreement with this?
And it's not, and I just, sorry,
No,
it's just if they're trying to get a certain number of people to obviously participate. If they don't get that number, then obviously it's the remuneration is going to be less.
right.
So
So that's the maximum.
that's the mix.
so if we're talking a resolution for our next meeting showing a commitment to this, not to exceed $6,000. Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
All right. Why don't we work together on drafting a resolution for 10-5? Okay. Mr. Reese, if you could just come forward, I know you had sent us an email on the fiscal stress test. If you could just come forward and just in layman's terms, let the public know what the results of our stress test were.
The results were very good. Our bond council was ecstatic. We started nosing up in 18 and 19. We were kind of getting closer to the fiscally stressed. And the state has, the backup that I sent the council is how they get the point system to get to the total points. And when you're over 50, you're considered to be stressed, and that affects your bond rating and certain other things that happen. I think our high water mark was 47. Last year we got down in the 30s. Right this year we're down to 5. And honestly, if we keep going the way we're going with the forecast and how they calculate the points, we should be down to 1 or 0 next year because of the 17 will fall off as a deficit. So the points that we had a deficit 3 years ago, and they count 3 years worth to get to that point. So I sent her over to Municipal Solutions, and she was very happy. And again, it kind of shows where we stand in relation to other communities. We're actually very close to the town. Lackawanna, cities like ourselves. So we're at least showing the state that we're doing the steps for how they rate that we're in line with what they want to see. So it's good news. It's kind of weird to get a lower score is better. And I think last year when I said we went from 47 to whatever it was, I was happy because it seemed, and again, I tried to explain that a lower score was better. Well, now we're almost down to 0. So, and then if you try to read that, there knows it was blinding to read, but you can kind of get a feel for what the state's looking at to decide what stresses a community. So if you read into that, you'll see poverty rates, environmental score, there's a lot of, it's actually a very interesting read. And if we want to discuss it later, I would go deeper, but it kind of shows what the state's looking at as opposed to what we might look at as a legislative body or municipal workers. But I'm happy.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. Morano, sorry we're a little late.
It's all right.
The council at our last meeting discussed possibility for a reassessment. We wanted to bring you back for some follow-up.
Okay.
I don't know if we had a chance to talk to the clerk, but we wanted to know basically what would the impact be if we waited another year?
So there's, you know, I basically took what we talked about last time, and I'm gonna focus in on just a couple of key points. Certainly, you know, the state recommends an update between every 4 to 6 years. Now, there are some communities that haven't done it in a long time. You know, until New York State mandates it, you're gonna have it, but 4 to 6 years, we would be entering, you know, year 5. Now, what are the negatives of not doing the project? Well, obviously inequity, but there's 3 key things that I think the council should consider. First off, as your equalization rate drops, it has a negative impact on the veterans exemptions and the star exemption. So our property owners will get less of an exemption. That's based on our equalization rate, just as a side note, it's currently at 86%. Looking at my preliminary numbers, we will be lucky to be in the high 70s. So those exemptions will even drop even more. The second thing, obviously, is share of city sales tax. When we're looked at, and Bill Reese gave me some data, which was very helpful here, but we are looked at in that share as a city, we compared with the city of Buffalo, city of Lackawanna, and of course ourselves. Buffalo did a project in 19. Lackawanna did a project in 20. So they've got bigger numbers, higher numbers. So in that share of sales tax, that very complicated formula that Erie County does, we will certainly have take some hits on it. The third major reason is the last project that was done, as I've said, and I think everybody has seen this, the commercial values are way, way low. They, in most cases, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously I wasn't here, they, you know, just didn't do any much with the commercial properties. So what happens is, while commercial is a small portion of our overall assessed value, it has a negative impact because the residential folks are paying a little more of the tax levy, because while a lot of residential properties are under assessed, the commercial properties are way under assessed. So, you know, getting the equity, maximizing our share of sales tax, making sure our vets and our enhanced star folks get the maximum exemption, and obviously trying to equalize the values and getting commercial up where it belongs would be the key reasons. Listen, I recognize that this board, this council has a lot of tough decisions on funding. You know, I'm one of the folks in line for additional funding. And, you guys have a tough call, and I fully respect if the decision is to hold off. But I truly believe we should do it in 23. My budget request was to do, the cost is going to be about 115. My request was 50,000 in the 22 budget, and then 65,000, which would be in the 23 budget. Sadly, while there is some limited state reimbursement, at best we'll get maybe 15% of our expenses covered. But I truly believe it's the right thing to do. You know, I did speak with the contractor who I mentioned last time, who I would like to be the one. They were the lowest bidder, which was important, and more importantly, they're the best contractor. You know, they would be okay even if we finalized and offered something in November, mid-November. That gives them enough. You're really at that tight window where they could work with that, because then basically they would do a lot of the work in 22. And then keep in mind, from a calendar standpoint, the initial values would go out in late February, early March of 23. So it gives them enough time to do their work. And then with that, I'm certainly open to any questions.
Well, I think a key thing to remember in this too is, I mean, Dave brought up that it might be wise to wait another year. But you're already talking about, if we're making a commitment in November, this is going to take through the next year and into the following year before the valuations are even in place.
The first, and then just the first tax bill that the new assessments will affect would be the September 2023 school. And then it would be the January 24 county bill, and then lastly being the April 24 city.
So that puts us 2 years, almost 2 years out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on the fact that we're on year 5 now, so we're already pushing ourselves over the state recommended over 4 to 6 years.
Sure.
By doing that. That also gives a lot of time for the market to plateau, if it's going to plateau, be able to get a gauge on that.
I think it's interesting about the other cities that have done it too,
I agree.
that they would,
School bill in 23 we did first.
Right, school bill 23,
And the city bill in 24.
44, yes. Yeah, the other, Lackawanna is on a pretty regular schedule. Lackawanna was already talking about doing an update 23. City of Buffalo, when they did it in 19, was the first one they did it. It was 10 or 11 years. And they are already talking about redoing it, but obviously in a city like that, it's a lot of moving parts to get that going. You know, the weird thing, Dave, is that you have some communities like Clarence was every 3 years. Newstead's every 3 years. Lancaster is every 4 years. Then you got communities like the town of Tonawanda that hasn't done it since '86. And you know, the thing is that the misconception always is the reval raises taxes. And as I showed you and you've heard my sermon, my homily, you know, that's not the impact. You know, like anything, people will go up, people's taxes will stay the same, and some people their liability will go down. Now, certainly, I expect everybody to see a big increase in their assessment, but ultimately, that's going to result in lower tax rates. So, give you an example, in Amherst, when we did our last project, if your assessment increased by 18% or less, your tax bill didn't change. Now, some people went up 25 or 30, they paid a little more. Some people only went up 5 or 10%. Their tax bill is actually less. You know? But it's all about, you know, the law is clear. You pay your share of taxes based on the market value of the home. If you're not updating that periodically, things can get out of hand.
but in layman's terms, because those other communities within our county have already done the reassessment,
They will get a bigger share.
they'll get a bigger share of the sales tax
Yeah.
because we are not on equal ground as they
Yeah, so they're gonna look at this share of assessment, and I'm far from an expert on the sales tax formulas, but just in speaking to Bill, that is a big impact, and I know one of the reasons why Lackawanna is not now more of a regular schedule is exactly that, you know, that hurts.
Not to mention,
Yes, sir.
sorry,
Yes, sir.
need to interrupt. But when you're also talking about the veterans deductions and the star reductions, I mean, how big of an impact? I mean, a couple percent, a couple dollars.
You're looking at, our utilization rate is now down, it's gonna be in the 70%. So you could see a 10% reduction between last year and this year. We get phone calls when tax bills come out saying, why did my exemption go down? You know, and it's because the formulas that the state works with, you know, has that impact. The biggest issue with this is not a knock on New York State, but the problem with equalization rates is New York State establishes one rate for the entire community. That's not how real estate goes up. Certain neighborhoods are faster, certain styles, certain property types within the commercial site. But unfortunately, you get one rate, you know, that has an impact on it. So that's the one balance.
And just also to tag on that too, as the valuation goes down, it becomes more estimated from the county taxes, because you're looking at the city taxes, county taxes,
Very much.
school taxes that affect your tax bill. So those county taxes you could be paying too much in county taxes
Very
based on
much.
the valuation of your home.
Yeah, no, that's another issue, the way the county breaks out the various tax rates. They look at your assessed value, if you get that number up. The ultimate goal is, you know, as you raise the assess, you know, if your assessed value goes up 20%, but your tax levy goes up 4%, the tax rate's gonna go down. You know, the tax rate's gonna decline a certain rate depending on the math. I mean, like I showed the average example. So that's all we saw it even in the last rebound. The school tax went down, the city tax went down, the county tax went down. Now, some folks did pay more. I mean, that's, you know, that's the nature of the beast. Our goal is to get that right now.
Before you leave, I want to give you an answer if we're going to move forward with this. Where's the council think?
I'm not ready at this time. I want to think about this some more. But if I decide right now, it's a no for me.
So
Or
Jim,
postpone for me, not necessarily
Sure, yeah.
a no, but it's,
Listen, if you have any other questions after the fact, not, if you don't have my cell number, you know, Jim or Bill, anybody, you know, don't hesitate to call me. I'm here, obviously on Thursdays normally, but you know, don't hesitate to call me at any time. My cell, any questions you might have.
so you said November was the deadline.
Yeah, November would be kind of the drop dead for the contractor for us to initiate a contract with the contractor and give them enough time so they can successfully do it. I spoke with their Dave Barnett, who oversees their reassessment projects today.
So our next meeting will be October 5th. We have time to review the thoughts and we can discuss it one last time on the 5th. We can get back to you.
Sure, no problem. If you want me to come back, certainly I can. And again, if anything comes up, I'd give you my cell phone, but I don't know if I want to give it to you.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but certainly Bill or Jim or anybody has anything, you guys.
Actually, hold that thought, because that would be beyond the first for mayor's budget. So if we are going to put the money in, I'd rather have an answer.
Well, that would beg the question, $115,000, is that something that we put in capital investment in bonds? Or is that something that?
You can't,
Oh, you
yeah.
can't. Okay.
It's shown that
So you
the
would put,
50 would be what we would be
50.
looking
you
for.
would put the 50 in,
And then 65.
so actually I can bring you to, in order for you to get us budget on time.
Well, he can always figure it in his budget.
What's that?
He can always figure it in his budget. It's not an issue.
You can always add to the budget.
We can, right.
As you need, you can discuss it right through and vote on it.
Okay.
All right, let me know if you have any other questions. Don't hesitate to call.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. Thank you for your time, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, start our regular session at 7:05. Call the meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order. Can you please call the roll?
Newman,
Here.
Cameron,
Here,
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for your blessings upon our city and our country. We ask for your favor, O Lord, and your continued blessings upon your people. Lord, we pray for our citizens and our city employees, our firefighters, our police officers, our DPW, and our parks employees. We thank you, Lord, for our volunteer firefighters, our police auxiliary officers, and all of our community volunteers who make this city a great place to live and work. We ask for wisdom for our community leaders, our council, and our mayor. Give them the means and the resources to make wise and just decisions. We pray that our community would flourish. Our waterfront, downtown, and businesses, may they thrive. All this ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You can see it. Communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondents have also been ordered and filed. We are not going into executive session. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there is a spot for you to raise your hand. Please do so, and our city clerk will call on you. For those that are joining us in person, please feel free to approach the microphone. Any comments on the resolution? Mr. Clerk, anyone joining us virtually wish to comment on the resolutions?
Madam President, I do not show anyone making any comments on the resolutions.
All right. Last call. Comments on the resolutions. Hearing none, let's roll.
Resolution number 1 by Councilmember Mylum.
We have a second.
I'll second that, Madam
Second by
President.
Mr. Ronstadt.
Resolved that the common council minutes from September 7th, 2021 be accepted as filed.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 2 by Councilmember Newman.
We have a second.
I'll take it, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Mylum.
Resolved that the bills be allowed as audited.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution 3 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas the city of Tonawanda has entered into shared service agreement with the town of Amherst for the shared assessor services, and as a result of Assessor Dave Morano's retirement from the town of Amherst position, it is now necessary to modify the agreement between the parties. And whereas the city of Tonawanda desires to terminate the shared services agreement between the parties in full as of December 31st, 2021, and in the meantime, modify the terms of payment for services provided by the assessor until September 17th, 2021, and to provide for services and payment of the senior real property appraisal Cheryl Walfrand until December 31st, 2021 termination date. Now therefore it be resolved that the common council hereby authorizes the mayor to execute an addendum to the municipal corporation agreement for shared assessor services that will incorporate the above stated amendments. And be it further resolved that an executed copy of the modification addendum shall be filed in the office of the city clerk.
Comments or questions? Comment. I'd like to thank our city assessor for his continued support for the city of Tonawanda, and he's not going to work. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 4 by Councilmember Rautenstrau.
We have a second.
I'll second it, Madam President.
Second by Mrs. Cameron.
Whereas a special events application was received by the city clerk from Kate Lockhart, vacant and abandoned property program director of Western New York Western New York Law Center for spooky scenes, an outdoor silent movie night at Niawanda Park Bandshell. And whereas the application was reviewed and commented on by all appropriate department heads to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents. And whereas all details of the above named event must be coordinated with the Parks Director, Amanda Loft, and the event chairperson. Now therefore it be resolved that permission is granted to Western New York Law Center to hold their spooky scenes, an outdoor silent movie night at Niawanda Park Bandshell on Friday, October 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. with a rain date of October 15th. And be it further resolved that a certificate of insurance naming the city of Tonawanda as additionally insured be filed with the city clerk no later than October 1st, 2021.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron Danner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas the Historical Society of the Tonawanda Inc. is a valuable asset to the city of Tonawanda. The Historical Society of the Tonawanda Inc. preserves the history and memorabilia of the city, as well as maintains the long homestead located at 24 East Niagara Street for its residents. And whereas in order to help preserve the historical building referred to as the long homestead for future generations, it is necessary for the city to work with the Historical Society of the Tonawondas, of Tonawondas. And whereas the Historical Society of the Tonawondas, Inc. desires to continue to maintain the Long Homestead located at 24 East Niagara Street, Tonawanda, New York, 14150. And whereas the parties hereto desire to enter into a lease agreement for the property located at 24 East Niagara, referred to as the Long Homestead, which will set forth all the obligations between the parties. Now therefore be resolved that the Common Council hereby authorizes and directs Mayor Rick Davis to execute a 10-year lease agreement with the Historical Society of the Tonawondas, Inc. to maintain the Long Homestead pursuant to the terms and conditions contained in the agreement on file in the city clerk's office. And be it further resolved that a copy of the said executed lease agreement shall be on file in the city clerk's office.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Camerediner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution 6 by Councilmember Mylum.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Madam President.
Second by Ms. Cameron.
Resolved that the 2021 general fund operating budget be amended as follows, as per your agenda.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Camerediner,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there is a raise your hand feature. Please do so at this time, and our clerk will call upon you. For those that are joining us in person, please feel free to approach the microphone.
I've done this before. Skip Johnson, 87 Niagara Shore Drive. On behalf of the Historical Society, we just want to say thank you for approving this lease. This takes us to 2031, which seems so far away. But within that window, I should mention that we will have a bicentennial of that building's construction in 28, 29. So we hope to celebrate that appropriately, and thank you for allowing us to continue. Thanks again.
Thank
you.
Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, anyone wishing to address the council virtually?
Madam President, at this time, I do not show anyone in the Zoom call that wants to make any comments.
Last call. Hearing none, Ms. Cameron.
I have nothing to report to.
Nothing. Sorry.
Nothing.
Mr. Roundstrom.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll speak on the microphone for the benefit of the person behind me. First sentence. One thing I just want to say is the first thing is just want to send a big shout out to Lindsay Jelski, the COT Neighbors United. They had this day of play this weekend that was really great. I brought my kids and managed to drag a couple more in with me who were hesitantly approached it, thinking it might have been a little too young with them. And the next thing you knew, they were fully engaged in everything going on. So I thought that, that was a great event. Thank you for all the work that the COT United does, the community building, the activities for our kids. I think it's been great. I wanted to, just a reminder too, it was brought up during the week, just in regards to people going door to door, peddlers, to ensure that they can provide a laminated copy of their license, their permit. And if they're knocking on your door and they don't have that please feel free to call the police so they can be stopped from doing this. There's some of the main things I did want to bring up. There's been some talk of, and it started as of yesterday, some voting on some funds, grant money for various areas of the Tonawondas. Yeah, we're involved in this. I think there's some great projects on this list as well that involve the city of Tonawanda. One being some projects going on in Vet Park. I just had a couple talking points. I just wanted to run by them in case anybody does have any questions. This was a funding of $1 million that was secured by New York State through its civil settlement with Tonawanda Coke, following the company's 2014 criminal conviction for emissions violations. This came from the Tonawanda Community Environmental Benefits Program established by the DEC and Attorney General's Office. And the program is meant to engage the public in the process of awarding grant money. It is being managed by the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo, which began accepting applications this year. If you do go to the website, it's tonawandafund.org. There's a direct link where you can actually vote on the projects. There's a lot of different things that you can vote on. There's some great projects in there. Please take the time to read through them. There's some great things in our own community affecting our library, things for our kids, things for our Vets Park and for gardens and community park garden projects. There's 25 different projects in contention for funding. Like I said, public gardens, trails, wildlife, native plant conservation efforts, education and recycling programs. The projects are split into a couple tiers from smaller scale and larger scale proposals. And as I said on the website, it kind of goes into that a little more and gives you some more detail. Anybody over the age of 16 is eligible to vote who live in the city of Tonawanda, North Tonawanda, Kenmore, the town, Riverside, or Southern Grand Island are also eligible to cast a ballot, selecting the projects that they would like to see happen. Just a note, you must pick at least one project from each tier, but you can pick up to 6 altogether. As I mentioned, if you go to the website, tonawandafund.org, you can learn about each project. There's links on there to see more detail on each of these projects. The last day to cast your ballot would be September 26th. You can also vote in person at the North Tonawanda Library, the Kenmore Library, the Elaine M. Panty Library in Riverside, the Grand Island Library, the North Park Library on Hurdle, and the Brighton Place Library in the town. New York State, as the entity with fiduciary responsibility for the distribution of funds, we use the community's ballots to guide the selection of the winning projects, which will all be announced late this year. I think that's everything I wanted to get across. And I just wanted to add to a lot of this is under the jurisdiction of our Assemblyman, Bill Conrad, sorry, in his area. I just want to bring it to his attention that he does have a representative that generally attends our meeting, Mario. If anybody has questions or comments, or you want to bring something back to our Assemblyman, Mario has mentioned that he'd be available for questions and comments and pass that along for you guys. I think that's all I have. I've got a little long-winded, so I apologize for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Madam President. I also would like to thank Lindsay Dilsky for her efforts on the day of play. It was a very nice outing, very, very busy up there. The fire department was also there with their engine 1 pumper with the kids doing hose lines and such, which is kids always enjoy. I would also like to congratulate 2 of our police officers that were promoted to detective, Officer Tom Harmon and Adam Kirsitz. Thank you for their service, and they're going to do a great job. That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Mr. Mylum.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind the community that their Fall Fest is this weekend at Veterans Park. Please make sure to attend. Promises to be good. I don't know the weather on Saturday, but it's always been a good event in the past, and can make it this weekend, it'd be great. I unfortunately couldn't make the promotion ceremony today, but would like to wish the new officer, the promoted officers to detective, Good luck and congratulations. Other than that, been a pretty quiet couple of weeks, so thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Like to also applaud Detective Carmen and Detective Kearsons for being promoted. Sean took a lot of my thunder tonight, so I'm a little biased. Go to TonawandaFund.org and vote for the City of Tonawanda's project. But more importantly, just go to the website and vote. There's a lot of worthwhile projects, both small and large, that you can vote on. And this is all, like you said, because of the judgment against Title I code. Also like to thank Lindsay Sealski and sponsors, our police department and the fire department. One, the Lions were even there for the pop-up playground event, and that's part. COT Neighbors United seems to every few months have a wonderful event that is well attended in our city, and look forward to bigger and better things from that organization. And last but certainly not least, you know, Mr. Reese shared about our fiscal stress monitoring system score. And that's something that came about in large part due to the, we all remember the debacles at Buffalo and Lockport. And the state controller's office decided back in 2012 to really not only do the public servants in those communities a service, but also the residents by keeping track of not only municipalities' fiscal stress, but also counties and school districts. So every year since 2012, the Office of State Controller has come out with the fiscal stress monitoring system scores. And you know, regardless of what some people are running around the city saying, that the city is fiscally sound. And a lot of hard work has gone into that. And I just like to thank all the public servants that have a hand in getting that score down to almost nothing. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Natalie Boiler for coming here. She presented just a phenomenal proposal to the city. So we look forward to working with you, and at our next meeting, we will officially have a proposal. It'll be a 10-year lease agreement. So whatever support that we can offer you moving forward, please let us know. But thank you for bringing this to our attention and for all your work and for all your volunteers who will help the community garden be what we know it can be. I want to give a congratulations to Jack Scheffler, whose mother announced on social media that he was named president of the National Junior Honor Society. He's a resident of the city of Tonawanda and one of the future leaders in our community. Just want to remind everybody that we will have a public hearing on October 5th at 7 p.m. that will discuss the rezoning application for 2030 and 40 Fillmore. I believe notices were sent out to those residents in that area. And we'll also have a presentation from the owner on what he intends to do with that area. Councilmember Ronstrau and the mayor talked about TonawandaFund.org, so I'm certainly not going to go further into it. The one ask is it possible that we can put the link on our city website through the 26th? We can do that? Okay, that we can get that up there tomorrow.
Yeah, either Jim or Kate will take care of it.
Jim, can you work with Caitlin, either you or her, to put that link up on our city website?
Yes, I'll work with her tomorrow.
Okay. Is it also possible that, and I don't know if we've already done this, but can we put it on the on our message board?
It's already on the message.
Is it? Okay, perfect. Okay. I want to thank the board from Lindsay's Legacy. You know, they had recently met and they had a tough decision to postpone Lindsay's Legacy until November of 2022. They have said that that will be their last event, so I know how hard that decision was. But they did so in the best interest of the community, and so we thank them for giving us advance notice, and we look forward to seeing them in November 2022. I want to thank our representatives from NIPA and Wendell for coming out tonight. I thought they provided us a great update and more to come on that streetlight project, but we're certainly seeing a lot of progress on that project. As Councilmember Nyland mentioned, Fall Fest is this Saturday at 11 a.m. at Betts Park. And I too would like to thank the officers and congratulate the officers who were recently promoted. Stay safe. And with that said, I know Chief Stewart is here. So Chief, come on up and we're going to talk about public projects. Hi, Chief. So I think we first want to talk about the vests. I know there was some email correspondences going back and forth. Don't believe you put that in the budget that you submitted to mayor, correct? No. Okay,
Last year or this year?
this year.
This year, no. No, we, originally, the funds were for to fix the roof. And we had a discussion a year or so ago. And when I was approached by our guys about the vests, a matter of safety, I decided let's transfer that, use the roof for these vests.
So it's still your desire to purchase those vests?
Yes.
Okay. Have you resolved the concerns with the city attorney?
Well, I replied to his concerns. I don't know if anything been resolved, but there hasn't been any more discussion.
Mr. Brewer, do you just want to come forward and? So if you could just share with the council, because I only saw a snippet of the conversation. I don't think we saw the whole thread. But from your position, what were your concerns with?
Well, my concerns with the vest, and again, I don't have all the information that the chief provided in response. I didn't have it at the time, but my concern was that if we provided this type of equipment, there would have to be some kind of policy in place for how it's used. And my position was, if we're going to give you a vest, then we're going to have to mandate that you wear it like we do with police patrolmen. We give them a vest, it's mandated they wear it on every single call. We don't know if this call is going to turn into a shooting, where the vest is going to save the firefighter's life. So my question was, again, I didn't understand the type of vest they were buying. The chief gave me some additional information on it. My issue was, we're going to provide equipment. It's going to have to be mandated for its use. It can't just be in the station house, and when there's a shooting, they're going to call for the equipment. It's too late at that point to put it on. Again, some of the additional information the chief provided was that it apparently goes on over their turnout gear. It doesn't. That's what your email said. I misread it. Because part of my issue was, again, you know, if when you're in a fluid situation like a shooting, you really don't have time to take off your gear, your vest on, go to the station, have the vest brought back to you. The incident I was referring to was an ambush of firefighters in Rochester several years ago, where the guy actually set a fire and the firefighters came and he shot him. But it was a fire call. So if we're only going to take out these vests and use them when we know it's a shooting call, they're not going to help us in like that particular situation where the firefighters were ambushed. So that was my question to the chief, or what kind of policy we're going to have about the use of these vests? And are we going to have to mandate them on every single call? An emergency call or a domestic call could turn violent. And from a liability standpoint, if a firefighter is killed and the state sues the city, and they say, well, why didn't we mandate them to wear the vest that we provide? That would have saved the firefighter's life. I don't know what our defense would be. We're providing equipment, but we don't mandate it that it be used. So that's my issue from a liability standpoint. There's no way to tell when we're gonna need that vest.
So would the vest be mandatory?
No, it's not practical. For the type we're looking at, it's not practical to wear these in every single situation. You're not gonna avoid what happened in Westminster. We're being called to a fire call, we're wearing our fire equipment. You know, anything could happen at any time. But I can tell you, there are times when we're, maybe the EMS crew is on the road, if they're first at a fire, they don't have any gear, they still may enter the structure. They're not protected. Does that mean we don't issue firefighting gear because we can't guarantee they're gonna have it on all the time? So I don't know, it's just not practical. Again, the idea for this type of protective is for when we're actually called to a shooting situation. If there were to be the main reason, would be for a situation where we have an active shooter somewhere in the community, or the church, high school, outside event like Melfest or 4th of July, where we would have time to don this equipment before we actually came into the vicinity of what was going on.
And you can go in a little bit of detail about the triage and the other parts of this equipment that is, if you would, about the purpose of the ballistic gear, the triage equipment and all that stuff that's involved with as well.
Yeah, we don't respond typically to shooting situations. Again, if there's any kind of a chance of any weapons involved, like a domestic or possible suicide, I'm waiting for the police to clear this. That's not our policy for a long time. Again, we would utilize these vests going to a known a situation. We know there's somebody at large that's still. Now we absolutely wouldn't rush in there, but there have been circumstances where there is a shooting going on. The shooter is not detained, but maybe blocked off to one side or the other, or semi-detained, and we may need to go in and start getting victims out. I do not want to send any one of our people in to anywhere close to a danger zone without these high-level protective vests. They're not designed to wear every day. What the police officers wear every day is not as heavy duty because it wouldn't be practical for them to wear. This is for, worst case scenario. We have a shooter who's at large. Maybe detained, maybe not, but we've got 10, 15, 20, 35 people pleading in that, and we need to get to them as fast as possible. So we need to protect our people. If we were, God forbid, to encounter that type of situation, which happens a lot more frequently than anybody thinks.
So can I ask a question? How long would it take our firemen to put these vests on? Because obviously they have to go over top of your uniforms prior to your fire equipment going, correct?
Oh, they don't wear it with the fire equipment. Because we're not going to a fire. We're going to help people. We're going to, like Tom alluded to, we're going to remove them, triage them, treat them, and then rapid transport to a trauma center.
So these would be in lieu of turnout gear
Yeah.
for a different type of call.
Yes.
Could these potentially be used for the late call?
For the same type of nature, yes. Yeah.
And they are practical enough to be able to do your job as paramedics or life-saving treatment.
Yeah,
with that
actually,
on.
the vests have pouches and so forth. They also carry bleeding control, tourniquets, clotting bandages.
It's your recommendation that you purchase these in 2021?
Yes.
And out of what line?
That was gonna come out of the capital budget.
Can we take it out of the capital budget?
So, our city treasurer, she said that it's not.
No, we talked about in lieu of the roof repair originally,
Yeah.
what we talked about months ago, when this all came up.
Yeah, that was the discussion.
Because he's gonna forego the roof and then try to supplement to try to get this equipment in its place.
So, Mr. Reese, we'd have to, if the council's in agreement, we'd have to have a bond resolution.
I don't necessarily know that that's bondable. I did ask our bond counsel. Depending on life, the usage, the cost of each piece. They kind of indicated that they really didn't think it was bondable. It's equipment. And the number wasn't so god awful high that we couldn't work it into the budget line. But again, when you bond, it's a long-term commitment with a significant piece. 20 pieces are still 20 smaller pieces, so we can't bond turnout bunker gear, we wouldn't necessarily bond this. Waste doesn't bond their vests. It's all considered consumables. So that's why they didn't bond the uniform line of the bunker gear, generally. That's my understanding. I'll reach out again to John Wesley, but yeah, give me writing, but that was what I received from Mutual Solutions. There really has to be a long-term life and something they can hang a 5 or a 10-year or a 15-year, guaranteed lifetime with a decent amount of value to it. So typically, it's like computers, you don't really bond magnets or your supply level.
So if this is not bondable, you have the money in your 2021 to fund this? We're looking at 54,000, right?
20, I think the number I gave you was 26, 27.
Oh, okay, I don't know where.
Right.
There, the specification is for 11-year warranty, so what it's worth. These are, the spec calls for a guaranteed 11-year life cycle.
So do you have money in your 2021? In any of your budget lines?
For that amount? No.
Yes. So if that's something the council desires to report, we have to find.
Couldn't it be done for next year?
Did not put it in his budget, so once we receive the mayor's budget, we can take a look at that. What do the members think about it being mandated, or what, did you take that back to your members?
What was the question?
Did you take back Mr. Rua's concerns back to the members?
The concern that we have to wear them all the time?
Yes.
No, because I wouldn't require them to wear.
Okay. And now, what about a policy? There's
We have, for every piece of equipment we use, every piece of equipment we wear, we have a policy. So this would be no different.
Okay, okay. So I'm sure once we receive the mayor's budget on or around October 1st, we'll schedule some time to meet with you. So let's put this in our parking lot for that point. Okay, do you agree?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the other thing that we wanted to put to bed was the roof. What's the status of the roof?
I received an email from a roofing company, the one that gave me the original quote 4 years ago. Yeah, he gave me an updated quote. I didn't expect it. I didn't know it would be back out. And I emailed him back and I said, okay, it's nice to give a quote, but last we spoke, they weren't going to be able to get this job in before the end of the year because of the amount of work they have to do and the ability to get the material that they need. So I asked him, is that still the case? And you see the secondary email or third email says, actually, we have it and we could do this job before the end of the year. So I'm in the process of getting at least 2 more quotes, and we can take a look at that and possibly get that done this year.
We bonded 55, chief, what's the new quote?
I I'm still waiting, so I can't say.
All right, I mean, did they, any indications that he was 55?
Yes.
Then we had to figure out what the rest of that. That might be better option next year.
When do you think you'll have that information?
I had a company in last week. The next one I talked to, they're not gonna get to do the estimate until next week, so before the next council.
Okay. So let's talk about that. You said we bonded 55?
Right, yes, he has. Go back and check.
All right. And I'm gonna suggest, Chief, that, once we get the mayor's budget, our first meeting's the 5th, we'll digest the budget, we'll work on a schedule, but we'll invite you.
Okay.
And then there were some email correspondences about the support vehicle issue. Has that been resolved?
Yeah, I spoke to the mayor. He's okay to put that secondary payment into the next year's budget, which is what had to be done. I have the money for this year's payment. Again, that would be up to you guys to okay that. They still have the vehicle on the lot. What I would need to do would be to move $910 from my equipment line to my vehicle line this year to do that. I believe that requires a resolution.
Correct.
So I will be, no, that's. What's that?
If it's less than 1,000,
Okay.
there's no resolution.
All right, well, that's what will need to be done. I need to move that in order to make that first.
You'll work with Bill on that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, anything else for the chief? Thanks, chief.
I just want to give a little heads up on our vehicle status. We have, our engine 3, our newest engine went down with its emissions unit, the top unit, and it's taken 6 weeks to get it done. So we moved our reserve apparatus into its place. The reserve apparatus is engine 1. Engine 1 pierced to the 1996 that we had issues with 5-6 years ago. I think we brought some of the members of the council to take a look at it. It's in rough shape. Well, you can imagine what shape it's in now. Yeah, it had an air tank problem a week and a half ago, a leak, another one. That tank wasn't available. So this week, we utilized it anyways, but it was a situation where because there was no air in the tank, when the driver started, he had to wait a minute to a minute and a half for the air pressure to build up before he could respond to the first. So we were down to one pumper, one ladder, and that truck. The mechanics did fix it this week. It's back up and running, but they asked me to come over and take a look at the condition. It's pretty deplorable. Somewhere in the capital budget, we've got a new pumper, 22 maybe, and we're gonna have to start thinking about that. I've got pictures. I'm gonna send them to you. Take a look and see for yourself what this thing looks like. In particular, the frame, the braces on the frame rails and open water tank are almost non-existent. It's holding 750 gallons of water at 8 pounds a gallon. Do the math. It's not a reliable vehicle. Just letting you know. But I'll do some email correspondence with you guys, and I'll let you know a little bit more detail about that. It's something I have to think about sooner rather than later.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, anything else? Before we adjourn? All right, can I make a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mylum. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a great night, everybody.
Likewise.
I thought it was 500.
Thank everyone for joining the Zoom call. We'll be ending the call at this time.